Listen, I'm going to just tell you what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the Beatles, okay? I never listened to their music ever. I'm not a fan of the Beatles. I really am not. We're going to talk about them. We're going to learn how to get rich together. And maybe ask ourselves, do we even want to get rich? Okay, today I want you to imagine you are standing at the base of a mountain. I don't know if you've ever been on a hike before, but I want you to pretend in your mind that you're standing at the base of a mountain. You see a trail, you see some rocks, you see some trees you have to weave in between. Maybe there's a bridge or something, okay? And the sheer height of everything is quite overwhelming. It's very steep. It's very long. It's a treacherous climb. The mountain, to you, it feels like it is the center of the world, and every single step you're about to take is going to be a battle. It's going to be a struggle. All right? Now, I want you to also imagine you are now floating high above that mountain. Okay? And now you're looking down at the mountain from this bird's eye view, from this bird's perspective, point of view of a bird, what a bird would see. Okay? And what you are going to see is the reality that you actually exist in. Just a different perspective of it. You're going to see the mountain. You're going to see the entire trail in which you would have taken if you had gotten to the top. You're going to see every little encounter, every little thing yet to come on your journey. Okay? You're going to see the entire landscape. And you're going to contrast the mountain that you once viewed as so monumental. You're going to contrast it to everything else around. And you will realize that that mountain is actually just a little hump in the larger landscape that exists around it. So, as we encounter struggles in our lives, are they really just a part of a larger picture? That mountain was once a struggle, but now it is a larger picture with this bird's eye perspective shift. And perhaps this is the same thing for some of the struggles we encounter in our lives. Just a thought. The more I see, the less I know for sure. That was John Lennon, an English singer and songwriter, also a peace activist, but most importantly known for being a member of the Beatles. This is a famous rock group during the 1960s. They're from England, but they, basically conquered the world. And they still are influencing pop culture even to this day. Now, I wasn't much of a Beatles fan, but I did some research and I came across the Abbey Road picture and photograph. And I think it kind of ties in with Lennon's quote here, because Lennon's quote speaks to the idea that as we encounter more of the world, people, and things, we realize how complex they all are. They're not very one-dimensional. They're very complex. And how everything has its own place in a larger whole. The more insight we gain, the more we are confronted with how small of an actual understanding that we have on the whole entire thing. And let me just tell you something. Taking this bird's eye perspective and shifting your perspective to this higher viewpoint, this larger viewpoint, it can be a very humbling experience. Okay? This can alter how we see others. Perhaps this will alter the way we see the rich people and the poor people, the powerful people, and the people who seemingly have no power. And what that might do with those things is, from this bird's eye view perspective shift, you might realize that all these labels I previously listed, the people who wear those labels, who we assign have those labels, they aren't actually that different. Let me just tell you something here. I want to talk about this, okay? So this is supposed to be kind of a little Abbey Road mini diagram here. But if I were to back away further and further, I could not tell you who was wearing what, who had what haircut, who was well kept, who had what nice watches on, who had a lot of money, who was very powerful, who was the leader, who was not, who was injured. I couldn't tell you all these things the further literally I got away from this. My eyes could not sense these things, okay? All I would see are just four people appearing to be walking across the street. Do you understand what I'm saying? The further away I'm getting, the less these labels are evident. The closer I get, I can see, oh, this guy doesn't have shoes on. Oh, this guy's got some scruff. This guy's got long hair. This guy appears to be leading everyone. Like, that's from being close. I pick up on the details. I can study it. This guy's wearing a suit. This guy, do you see what I'm saying? But the further away I get, they just look like silhouettes. They just look like people. And this is a very easy tool and demonstration, but the same thing could happen with us. Just as the mountain, as we became further away from that mountain, we saw how all the little treacheries and all the little details actually kind of faded away. They dulled down, and the mountain itself kind of became a detail amongst the whole. And it wasn't as treacherous or as much of a struggle as we thought. We labeled that mountain as a struggle, but it seems as if that label has vanished the further our perspective has gone away from the details. And this is the same thing that I'm suggesting we can do amongst humanity and people as well. Which leaves you to ask, how permanent and how real are these labels that we assign in the first place? Perhaps these meanings of these labels, they hold flaws in themselves. Maybe the things like wealth, status, and success, they don't actually carry any real meaning, but instead, they're formed how society views it, how we as a collective society assign meaning to these labels. Maybe the label itself doesn't have any meaning at all. Now, that doesn't mean that these constructs that we have, that doesn't mean that they don't have any real-world consequences. Someone truly might not be able to afford shoes. Okay, just an example here. And there are going to be some real-life consequences for that. Constructs and consequences, they can both coexist. And a person who's rich may experience privileges, opportunities, and comfort that someone who's poor might not. But these very same constructs can also create divisions and judgments and pressures that don't necessarily reflect everyone's equal worth as a human being. Trying to achieve this bird's eye view, point of view of perspective, it's actually pretty tricky to do. It takes a lot of practice. Okay? But by doing this and becoming more self-aware of how you're viewing other people and how you're viewing the world and how you're kind of approaching the struggles in your life, it can be a very humbling experience. And remember, when you witness the whole, when you witness humanity as a whole, others in your society, and you bring identity to the human beneath the labels and you see their worth and connect, then you are gaining a lot of social awareness. And the great thing about the bird's eye view perspective is you can always try to achieve a little bit higher perspective. You can always shift it a little bit higher, a little bit higher. There is no ceiling to this. But I will remind you that the more you see, the less you know, just as John Lennon says. Okay? Watching people and gaining social awareness, we have a great activator that we like to play that is right in line with these skills. So we encourage you to have a blast and play this game. Take it away, Mr. Pat Fish. Go!
Up next, we have Down Up Cup. Now, what I like to do for this game is just like you would go around the room picking teams, you're one, you're two, you're one, you're two. This way, I just go around and make it pretty straightforward so that everyone can remember which team they're on. You start off with the first student. That student gives you a thumbs up. Next student gives you a thumbs down. Next student, thumbs up, thumbs down, and so on and so forth. Now, once everyone has their thumbs up or their thumbs down, you instruct those students that this is now your team. While you're doing this, you can disperse some cups around the ground of wherever your playing area is going to be. You don't have them facing downward, you don't have them facing upwards, you simply have them scattered around like this. Now, when the game begins, the goal of the team with their thumbs up is to leave as many cups as possible facing upward like this. The goal of the teams that are down is to leave as many cups as possible facing downward like this. We have a couple of rules for this game. This is very much so a game that I consider to be having more referee-ness than some of the other games, but I still tend to lean towards, if I see a new strategy, a new idea, as long as it's safe, I try to let it happen. One way to play this game is instructing students that you have to flip when you are touching the cup. Now, if you want to just let them kick over a bunch of cups and knock each other's cups over. It's not really a safety concern, but what it will do is make you go through your cups really, really quickly, and you'll have a bunch of broken ones like this. So if you want to continue playing the game for a longer period of time with more than just one class, then make sure you instruct that the only thing you're allowed to do once you touch a cup is try to put it into your position. You can't hoard, you can't like try and block off other people, but the most important rule for this game is you can't touch anyone else, because we don't want somebody just to stack all the cups and then start playing offensive line trying to prevent people from getting to the cups. I like to set the timer for this game anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute, and you say go and you let the race begin. Now, what you'll see is some students will start off in the middle and they'll be flipping all of them. There might be someone else behind there flipping a bunch the other way. But then you'll start to see some students think of some different ideas, and maybe someone takes a cup and brings it over to the corner. Or as we saw today, maybe somebody starts stacking some cups on top of each other. And if that becomes an issue, well, you get rid of that rule. That's fine. Or you put a new rule in place. So depending on your class, you can play this game in a multitude of ways. But depending on what your class comes up with, make your rules from there. It's sort of just like in circle with guidelines. Take your time and you come up with it together, and as long as there's consensus, then you're playing the game the right way. Now, once the timer's up, what you're gonna do is just count up the cups. And if down has more than up, then down wins. If up has more than down, then up wins. If all of them are scattered out and across like this, you just don't count those. And time. Stop. Don't touch the cups. Everyone walk off the rug. Let's see how many up cups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Up cups wins.
Whoa.
2, 3, 4.
Now, hold on a
10 to
second.
9.
Now hold on a second. Those were stacked.
Those were
I think
stacked.
That counts as hoarding. Yeah. That counts as hoarding. That's hoarding.
Wait,
That's
wait,
stacking
wait.
them.
We never said we couldn't stack them.
It wasn't in my hand.
Who did it? It was you? Count it. 10 to 9 downs win. I thought it was Joe. I was going to say, no way.
I was like, dude.
That was a heads up. I don't know. There's no rule for that yet. Like with any of these games, maybe you need to put a rule in place, but the first time somebody alley-ooped in basketball, it wasn't like they were like, this doesn't count. It might be a game-changing strategy. I don't know. So congratulations, Downs. You were the winner.
If you or a friend want to send us an activator that you came up with for a chance to be featured on this show and perhaps have kids all around America play it, then be sure to send us a video of you playing your activator and explaining how your activator works to the email in the description below, and you might see yours on an episode of Love Your Lawn. Now that we have completed our activator portion of the show, we can get right into our weaving portion of the show. And today's topic is weaving the larger picture, yo. What I mean by this is having this bird's eye view perspective, point of view in your circle. So as the weaver, you're supposed to see the circle from a high point of view. That's the goal. You want to see it. You're the facilitator here. You need to be seeing this from a high level. I want you to practice soaring above the conversations, listening and connecting the dots, connecting the patterns in the humans behind these stories. And you can do this by finding similarities between the participants. For example, this is a question we like to ask. What is a smell that might make you feel nostalgic? Okay? This is a great question for Circle. And someone might answer, I love the smell of ginger because it reminds me of eating ginger snaps with my grandmother in her kitchen back when I was a child. And then someone else further down the line might say, I love the smell of frosting because I used to help my grandmother decorate cakes, and now every time I smell frosting, it brings me back to those happy times. Okay, so I've heard this. Okay, I've heard these things as the weaver. Now I can connect the dots in humanity. Yes, there's a common theme amongst grandmothers, correct? There's a common food theme here, it sounds like, as well. So as the Weaver, I could pose a question such as, we could talk to maybe the best birthday cake you've ever had of all time, or perhaps even the worst birthday cake you ever had of all time. This is kind of touching on this element of joy and remembering, this nostalgic kind of thing, or these like I can't believe it moments. This one time when I spilt my birthday cake in my lap, or I went to blow my candles out and my hair caught on fire, or something like that. Okay. Or we can kind of go a little bit different here. We could say, oh, I'm noticing a grandmother element here. I'm noticing a grandmother element. Maybe their grandmother is significant to shaping them. So maybe I could ask you a question about, name someone in your family who's might have helped you through a hard time, or someone in your family who you aspire to be like, or different things like this. So now we're kind of touching on this like help in this kind of looking up to kind of inspirational element. Or, we're talking along the lines of family. Perhaps we can get to something different. Maybe we could talk about different family members who maybe we don't have with us anymore. Maybe we don't have our grandmother or our grandfather with us anymore, and we can talk about that. And we can see how each detail can kind of weave into a larger puzzle. We can kind of connect the dots and kind of go into different places, everywhere from joy to help to maybe even this sense of grieving and how we heal ourselves. Because someone who hasn't maybe lost a grandparent or something like this might not know how to deal with it, and maybe by kind of bringing it up, some other people who have already experienced it, this person can kind of know, hey, my grandmother's sick right now. I could use someone to talk to. I could talk to about this. So this is how we can kind of use this larger picture to make sure each individual kind of has their own little outlet to kind of seek and help. Every human is part of humanity. And even though the labels that we might construct and put on people, they might vary, they don't really mean all that much, because in the end, we are all human from this bird's eye view, this bird's eye perspective. We are all just humans. Okay? And that will close the circle for us today. And in other news, this past week, we had another appearance on the Aired Out podcast in Vermont with host JD Green. He has been featuring a member of Sweethearts and Heroes for over a month. Every single Wednesday, someone either goes in person down to a studio live, or they'll call in live to the show. And this past week, JD Green got to talk to Haley, our good friend from Ticonderoga, New York. She called in. So check out her featured episode from the Aired Out podcast.
I am so incredibly grateful for everything that they have done, and it was so unexpected. Looking back now, I see all of the things that they've done for me and all the ways they've affected not only me but my entire school.
Yeah.
It is crazy. And like you said, if you can help one person, that's what you have to start with. That's what you need to focus on, because when you help one person, that person can go on to help others. And those are the things I have in my toolbox, I guess, now as I go forward. There's a handbook, a step-by-step process on how to solve most of the math problems out there. You can study scientific facts and learn anything you could possibly want about a lot of things in the academic world. But I knew that, and I was good at that, but I didn't know how to necessarily do life.
Yeah.
And so many teenagers all across the country, they don't know how to. How are you supposed to? It's your first time living. It's your first time experiencing all of these things. And
Sure.
especially as a young kid, not knowing who you are and trying to, I guess, figure out the distinction between who you are and who you want to be.
Yeah.
I really struggle with that. And all of the ways that Sweethearts and Heroes helped me figure that out, I believe it's set me up for success in the future. There's no doubt in my mind. I've been through a lot of hard things, and because of Sweethearts and Heroes, I've learned how to handle those hard things. Life isn't always going to be easy, and I know that, and I understand that pretty well. But I personally, I believe, I've hit rock bottom. A lot of people have. I think it's only up from here, and not necessarily in a linear way, but I think I'm set up pretty well.
I think you are too, Haley.
And we will put a link in the description below so you can check it out in its full entirety. There's some really great, compelling stories in there, and she shares her bird's eye view and her perspective onto how her life has changed with Sweethearts and Heroes work and what she's hoping to do with her future. Okay, so maybe this experience might add a little bit of height to your perspective and help you see the world on another level. I know it definitely had that effect for me and my producer and some of the other people on the Sweethearts and Heroes team. So big shout out to JD Green and the Aired Out Podcast. Big shout out to Haley from Ticonderoga, New York. Thank you so much for your time and sharing, and we appreciate all that both of you have done for us in helping us. So thank you very much. If you or your school wants to be featured on this podcast, be sure to send us an email at whatisgoingon at your school. Our address is in the description below. Write us an email. You should even just check in with us. Just say, hey, how's it going over there? Here's what we're doing at our school. We'll see you on the podcast. And we'll definitely put you on the podcast. Just reach out to us. I'll have my producer check the email right now. Hey, producer, will you check the email, please? Anyways, remember, loving your life starts by loving your lawn.